Estás viendo Canal América, televisión dominicana para el mundo.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got, but the world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your fear.
Welcome to A Time for True show. I'm your host, Dr. Art Philanthropist, and today we're going to be talking about something that makes the United States of America such a wonderful country and the greatest country on earth: freedom of speech, amongst our other freedoms that we're guaranteed by the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and what was fought for this country in the Declaration of Independence of our forefathers. There have been certain developments that have occurred over these last year and a half during COVID, a lot of the controversies, and it seems like there's been some censoring of speech, of communications, which is a little bit alarming. So today we're going to have a very special guest that we will be having on the show, and I'd like to introduce him. And Buddha, if you can put his pictures up on the screen, I want to introduce Dr. Arturo Mosquera, a Cuban-born American with a DMD from the University of Florida College of Dentistry, a Master's of Science in Orthodontics degree from the University of Tennessee College of Dentistry, from a diplomate also status from the American Board of Orthodontics. Dr. Mosquera is past president of the Florida Association of Orthodontists, of the South Florida District Dental Association, of the South Florida Academy of Orthodontists, and the University of Florida South Florida Dental Alumni Chapter. He was a member of the Strategic Planning Committee of the Southern Association of Orthodontics and served on the board of directors of FLADPAC as an alternate to the FDA Council of Governmental Affairs. Dr. Mascara was a professor and advisory committee member of the University of Florida College of Dentistry and past president of the club de Estudios Odontológicos Latinoamericanos, Hermandad Estadounidense Latino Odontológica, CLAHLO. The doctor has been a spokesperson for dentistry and orthodontics on radio and television. Dr. Mascara is an advocate for contemporary art, an artistic director of Art at Work and Farside Gallery, producing over 150 solo and collective exhibitions since 1998, and was being featured at the Miami-Dade College Museum of Art and Design and the Broward College New Gallery, with her collection having received wide critical international acclaim. Dr. Mascara is a founding member of the Locust Project Board of Directors and founder and chairman of the Bellin Entertainment Art Media section of the Bellin Jesuit Preparatory School. And along with his wife, Lisa, they're strong humanitarians, having generously donated artworks for many different causes. So at this point, I want to welcome Dr. Arturo Mosquera to A Time for True show. Engineer, if you can put him up on the screen. Welcome, Arturo.
Thank you, Bernardo. Thank you, and look forward to having this conversation with you and the guests and the audience.
Well, I want to get right to it. And one of the first questions I have being such an accomplished doctor in your field, having so many responsibilities with so many different committees, legislative bodies, your artwork. How was it? What was it that inspired you to start this all with the art when you did?
So it was actually a dentist, a periodontist like yourself, who came to South Florida from Texas, and he said, "Listen, dentists should be more involved in the arts than we are, and since you are involved in so many organizations, I think you're somebody that should look into this." He brought a magazine and pointed out this name. I said, "That must be a relative of somebody that went to high school at Belen with me." And it turns out it wasn't a relative, it was my classmate, Ricardo Paullosa, who's an accomplished poet in American literature. And he's an art critic. And he got us involved in collecting art. And the whole thing just kind of meeting artists and being exposed to their studios and what their thoughts were on their creations. It evolved into then doing these exhibitions that we've done at our two art spaces, and then of course some of the exhibitions that our collection has been featured, but also we lend to exhibitions throughout whenever we're asked to lend work for exhibitions at the national level. And so it's been a wonderful experience. Art can transform the world. So yeah, I'm glad to be a part of it.
What's totally amazing to me, I wanted to ask you, and you started to get into a little bit, but I want you to get a little deeper into it. As a collector and director of these organizations, what is your personal feeling on how art improves cultural and ethnic understanding between peoples?
So artists have a unique sensibility, and it's through their art creations that artists can convey problematics in the contemporary world. And it can range from everything from politics to their own personal lives and things that affect us all. Um, the problems with the environment. They have, like I said, a unique sensibility, and their artwork as they create these amazing aesthetic paintings, sculptures, photographs, videos can be very impactful to the viewers. Sometimes they're haunting, sometimes they're images that are just absolutely breathtaking, and these emotions bring out the best in the human.
Absolutely. You know what? My wife actually was the director of Gallery of Art in Venezuela. And so I know how, she's able to bring what you said, that sensitivity and that intuitiveness that really helps in terms of human relationships. And so, I know you're Cuban born, as I was. And my question to you is what developments as a Cuban American are concerning you that you see happening in America in the last year or so?
So, Ben, why don't we show some of the images that I sent you at this time while I speak? Um, Basically,
Sure. You know what? Engineer. There we go. Okay, here we go. Go ahead, Dr. Mascara.
so, so you were talking about censorship. Well, in totalitarian governments, and that involves communist countries as well, you have people in power who may not like what artists are conveying, and so they're censored, and their work is not allowed to be shown, and they're ostracized as artists, and they're not allowed to proceed. This is a situation that is a loss of a liberty for the artist to be able to express through their art what they wish to convey.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And how do you feel this relates to what's going on in America with some of the things that have been happening on different sectors of our, of our country?
So you have the censorship for one. You have some people advocating for socialism, which is kind of like a step away from communism. In these countries, such as Cuba and like you and I grew up in and then had to leave, there was a loss of religion freedom. So whether you're Jewish or Catholic, or you have a belief in African religions, it's these choices are not there for you. So you have to be an atheist. There's also censorship of musicians. Celia Cruz is a good example of somebody that was not allowed to express herself and her songs in Cuba, and she was a big advocate in exile of the freedoms that we enjoy in the United States. Um, there's many more issues that Americans should be concerned about.
Uh-huh.
We have some other images that should pop up anytime on the screen, but certainly we have an issue in movement, so migration, or the issue of not being able to leave the country to travel freely. That's a big problem. If you going back to religion, baptism is something that's not allowed, and the family is amazingly repressed, because uh, in communism you don't want uh, for the individual to be faithful to their family. They only want you to be faithful to the government. So this one screen shot that you're seeing is somebody who's wearing certain types of fashion that may be also frowned upon. So they would basically have a problem with individual liberties of expression and how you dress, or how your hair is. Um, the next screen is a problem that you're familiar with. It's a shortage of healthcare, medical and dental devices, instruments, um, cement materials. In my case, braces and wires for the population, and I'm frequently asked if I can send something to Cuba for them to do their treatment, because they know how to do the treatments, but they don't have the materials. So if we can show the family, that's my mom, who was basically in the previous screenshot, and that she basically needs a albuterol, which is a respiratory therapy, so that her lungs stay clear. And these are the kind of things we take for granted here. That in some of these totalitarian governments, you don't have access to. So again, the importance of the family and practicing religious beliefs and how that's repressed. You
Very
can go to the
important
next.
point because the religion and the family are really the fabric of every society and culture, and to destroy the stability of any really community is counterproductive. And so it's something that I really was looking forward to ask you these questions because, it's important in our great country to maintain stability, to maintain our rights, and as you said, not to think that what we have is always going to continue without any work. It took tremendous work over many, many years to establish what we have in our great country. And I think it's important for the viewers to realize that because so many other countries depend on us also, and for our production, our support, our justice actions as a country, that we need to make sure that we preserve this freedoms that we have. So what I wanted to ask you, because being born in Cuba, what issues do you feel are important for, let's say, an American-born United States citizen? You're now a foreign-born, Cuban-born American citizen, and your understanding may be a little bit different than someone who was born here, used to being here. So, what issues do you feel is important for all Americans to realize and act upon, so we don't get, a loss of our democracy?
So the issue of having jobs and works is essential. This country was founded by the Puritans, and their hard work ethic is what laid the foundation for this great country. When I came as a child, 9 years old, I worked all kinds of jobs, from selling avocados to tomatoes to cutting the neighbor's grass, raking their leaves, um, selling newspapers. I had a newspaper route. Construction later on, as I got older and was able to do construction work, and then later on, I worked in retail and clothing stores, and I think it's important that young people are able to have different experiences in the workplace, and that those opportunities are there, and that they understand that it's through hard work that you persevere. Now, in these communist or other totalitarian forms of government, like we take Germany, and in World War II, they took the belongings that didn't belong to them, who were, of Jewish people that they were trying to uh, kill, basically, through the gas chambers. And so you have a situation where there was a lot of theft of property, including artworks. And so in Cuba, I remember leaving the airport because we came on a tourist visa that we received through an American that had my uncle had befriended. And I remember when we were leaving the airport, the militia soldiers were wanting pennies that my cousin had in his pocket, and they took the pennies. I mean, that's how bad it is. And so to take somebody else's property is a big deal for people that have worked hard all their lives and have, gone ahead and through their own personal sacrifices obtained whatever real estate, artworks, their homes, whatever, and these things can be taken away from them. So it's a big problem for the United States, for young people to wake up and understand that this utopian dream that the socialists and communists try to portray is full of falsehoods.
Makes total sense, because when you look in terms of the economies of different countries and what's going on with their stability, you can see that, we're counted on America as a symbol, and that when things happen here, that it really disturbs people worldwide, that regardless of, some of the criticisms our country gets, it's kind of like being a mother or a father. You get the criticism, but in the long run, if you have the discipline, your children come out positive, make it in life. And if you're just too permissive, they really just go all over the place and never make any progress. We have about 8 minutes or so left on the show, and I know you have so much to say. So I want to ask you, what other factors do you feel is important for people to realize? What kind of, participation do you feel? Because you're such a community-oriented man with so many things that you've done. What do you feel, because we're all stressed with time, but what do you think are the important things to prioritize in our lives in the coming year?
Well, before that, can we go back to the image with a relative and that pig that was on the screen
Sure.
before I got to talk about it? So the this is a cousin of mine who was here because his father had been sent to New York to work for Pan American Airlines, and then he got a job subsequently for Eastern in Miami. So my cousin here, this is what he looks forward to every Christmas, and of course, Christmas being a religious holiday, and so this celebration centers the family around a roasted pig for Noche Buena, and so what is the tie-in to this picture was a couple of other pictures that I had sent you, and it's about food because in Cuba there's an huge problem with obtaining food. So there's a shortage of food. There's a problem with long lines to secure whatever minimal thing they have. It's not like the American supermarkets. So wake up, because it's really a different reality. Now, for example, this plate of food represents a restaurant, and so one of the things that's a problem in some of these communist countries is that there's like an apartheid, and the apartheid is for the citizens of the country, even if they have money, because let's say they got it through a relative who gave it to them as a gift, they're not allowed to go to certain places, like certain restaurants or certain hotels. They're only reserved for the tourists, and they don't want the citizens mingling and being there, even though they have the money to pay for it. So these are harsh realities for people to understand if they haven't had the personal insight or experience, and so that's a big problem, because for us to go to the supermarket or to go to a restaurant here in the United States is so natural, but you can actually lose that.
Yeah, it's amazing. You're absolutely right. Because we go into the supermarkets here in our country, and everything is there, and we have choice, organic, not organic, and you look at the services that we have, and you look at really how coordinated our country is, because in reality, there's so many different cultures and so many different people, and we really do coordinate. And we actually, I think, do a pretty good job of coordinating, and so that you make very good points, because it's something that we shouldn't take for granted. Because since we have freedom here, people realize that we have to protect that freedom, that it's not something that's guaranteed. So we have maybe a few minutes left in the show, Dr. Mosquera. And, what I want to ask you is, what would you like to conclude with that you feel is important for our viewers to do or to act upon in the coming year so that we preserve the standard of life that we have, our liberties, our freedoms, and the democracy in our country, which I know all organizations, media, social, governmental, health professions, we all want to preserve liberties. I don't think there's any discussion that the democracy should continue. So what would you like to say as a concluding remark here?
Be on the watch out. Every person can make a difference in the world. The idea that one person can change the world, I see as a different possibility, and you're a good example of doing that. I also think it's important that even if we have differences, I will defend to death your right to voice your individual beliefs, and so that is the right we enjoy here as Americans. And even though we might disagree, I will defend your right to express your views.
Absolutely. You know what? That's one of the things that, I speak to people about is that in our country, here in America, we actually have a chance to voice our opinion. And even though it may be a politician who's actually in office at that time, that you really are allowed to voice your opinion. And that's what makes a democracy, is not that we don't disagree, because even in families, I don't know about you, Arturo, but sometimes I fight with my wife. How about you?
Absolutely, we all have this. We we've been having some interesting conversations about how the political field changed with the elections, and our family was divided, and so now um, those family members that voted out President Trump have had to deal with new reality of President Biden and some of the concerns that they are having with how this whole situation was handled in Afghanistan and all the poor people there that have been left behind, and how the United States has lost a face as an ally and of other countries, and it's a big concern. So I think it's important that yeah, we have fights among our families, and that we do reflect on what others have said and voiced in previous conversations, and that you learn from them. But hopefully, we learn at a faster pace, because the other bad situation is that history tends to repeat itself, and if you're not careful and you don't study history, then you're bound to make the same mistakes that were done before.
Absolutely. Well, we're at the end of the show, but I wanted first of all to thank you for coming. It's a
It's
pleasure to
my
have
pleasure.
you.
Well, it's my pleasure to be here. It's my pleasure to share my observations and comments with you all.
Well, it's a pleasure to have you. And for the viewers out there, realize there is no perfection. We live in a great country. We have great resources, and it behooves all of us to support the community, our political system, our freedoms, and work together, coordinate together. We may have arguments like we do in our families. Nothing's going to be perfect. But the thing is, if we keep the structure, the fabric of society, we move forward. So, from A Time for Truth, wishing you a very good day. Thanking Dr. Mosquera for attending, and we will see you again on the next episode of A Time for Truth.
Thank you, Bernardo.
Sometimes life can be so damn hard. You don't know where to go. Everything keeps falling apart. Yeah. You try to do your best, but only God knows that you've given everything you've got. The world takes you down. You just keep moving on. Let your feet